Hello, Brendan Smith.
Hey, Jerry.
This is Jerry Katz. What are you up to?
I'm sitting down.
So what did you do today? Your work at your internship there?
Yeah, actually, I spent the day with Sage, who I think you
Yeah.
just.
What did you guys do?
Um, well, not much, but actually, our day today was spent moving a good friend of ours. That was
Yeah,
uh, that was how we spent the day. We were moving we played the characters of two movers today.
play the characters. Yeah. So did you get along okay? I mean, because everything's like Gurdjieff has like his Gurdjieff work. Like work is just like the practice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we decided during around noon to start a moving business, and by 3 o'clock, the business was done.
All right. Well, you were in business for a short period of time. They say,
3 hours.
I mean, they say every business is going to last about 5 years. Yours lasted, 5 minutes, and
Yeah, Sage, he didn't. I scratched the dining table, and that's what ended it.
oh, that's not good for a mover.
No. So
All
that was
right.
my day, and then let's see. We came back, and I was just up on the hill. They're building a big herb garden in Ojai on the Krishnamurti land here,
Yeah.
and so we were just using a post hole digger
Mm.
and digging 2 foot holes together.
2 foot.
That was
That's pretty deep. 2 foot
It's pretty
holes.
deep. Yeah, 2 feet down, and they're rocks. So we were also manually extracting these rocks from the
Oh, you
belly.
just need some dynamite. That's all. You got to blast.
Yeah.
Need some blasting. Oh, so just anyone listening, just remind them. They might have heard Sage's interview, but just remind them about your internship and where you are and so on.
Yeah, sure. Actually, right now I'm sitting on the spot where Krishnamurti died. It's
Okay.
it's his bedroom, and this is the quiet room. It's the quiet room in Pine Cottage, which is Krishnamurti's house since 1922, and this is the spot where he was no longer.
Well, I think that's appropriate because I think we're dying right now. This
That's why
isn't.
I was thinking about where the call should happen, and I was like, oh, well, I could just sit right here and die now. Yeah,
That's that's fascinating. It's a room where he died. Yeah.
room where he died. Yeah.
Any stories about his last moments or days or day or?
Um. Well, the prevailing one. Well, this is funny actually because I've heard this story, this legend, around Ojai for many years, and I've been told it like it was some proclamation that Krishnamurti said that no one understood what he was saying. But in the last few years, I've kind of turned it around, and maybe he said no one understands what this message is. Referring to there's not actually anyone here to understand something.
Okay.
That the whole message isn't about someone getting something or someone understanding or someone
Yeah.
coming to some realization. So it's interesting, but what he said is that no one understood what I said.
Okay. So in a sense that no one is almost, you don't want to say no one is an object, but it's
Yes,
more of a
yes.
positive statement than a negative statement. It sounds like.
Yeah, more of a direct, a very direct pointing. If
Yeah,
you, a
like a
point,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
direct confession of what is sort of.
Yes, exactly.
No one understands. This is very instead of saying, "Hey, nobody understands me." It's like a
Yes,
very direct statement. No one understands.
No one understands.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and then we say we understand. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, then what did I just understand there?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Um,
Well, that's so. Are you? So how did you get into the internship? The whole thing's fascinating.
yeah,
Sage
the whole
got in
thing's,
just through
yeah.
knowing, meeting someone, and did you have to? How did you get into the internship?
Yeah, so I was just talking with Yap. There's a man named Yap who's the
Right.
But he likes to say that I came in by parachute.
All right. You were trying to, to get help Sage escape.
No. So there wasn't an internship about a year ago. So I parachuted in metaphorically.
Okay. Yeah.
About last April. So it's been a year that this internship has been it's come alive. So now we have 5 people who are living on the land and 5 interns or whatever that means.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spoke to Jaap last January when I was here at a retreat, and we just hit it off. And he had this idea kind of brewing in the back of his mind. He was like, okay, well, I want to start this program at Krishnamurti's home and on the land here, and if you want to do it, we'll start it in April. So I was getting out of some previous obligations, and I just said yes. Let's go. Let's see what happens here.
So now Jaap is his name is spelled. Can you spell his name and his last name?
Yeah, that's the first name.
Yeah.
It's Jaap. It's Dutch.
Yeah. Mm. And I don't remember his last name. I know I wrote it down for Sage's
It's Sluijter.
Yeah.
Sluijter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we just kind of he had the idea, and he worked for many years in Brockwood, the school that Krishnamurti started in England.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a program like this going on there, and it's been going on since the 70s, I think. So then he came here, and he's been directing the foundation in America, and he thought it would be a good idea. There is no one really living here except 1 or 2 people over the years. So since Krishnamurti died on this spot.
Sounds like he's got a couple of good people. I haven't talked to anyone else there, but yeah, it must be interesting. What's going on? What do you like best about it at this point? Anything in particular, or just the whole thing as the whole experience as a whole?
It's interesting. Yeah, I would say space. The space. I think usually, in terms of creating a program or a college or a school, some type of educational, a program or an educational class or something, we usually think of the content that we're going to fill that space with. But here, there hasn't been any content. That's been. Krishnamurti's work is here to study, and as are many other scriptures and documents and philosophies. But more, I feel like Jaap, or how we've come about this, is not by filling the space with content, too much study or too much intellectual movement. It's just been kind of a free space, and that it's been a year. It's a very spacious year, I guess.
Space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, are you interested in education?
Yes.
Do you have a background in that? Like what's your education?
Yeah, I got this.
And how old are you? I know you're in your 20s probably, or
I'm 27.
No. And what's your like work or educational background, Brendan?
I got this thing called a bachelor's degree, which is interesting, in religious studies.
Yeah.
So I studied, kind of what you're interested in, Jerry. It's I kind of try to emphasize in what I would call the non-dual wisdom traditions. So I've had a fascination since I was young with just inquiring into the nature of what this is.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Davis, University of California.
And it's interesting you were able to. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, but I just want to say I think you were able to take this religious studies program and emphasize the non-dual.
Yeah.
wisdom.
Well, it's been coming alive in California, as you know, at the Science and Nonduality Conference, and so the professor and the people, the staff, they were into it. They were like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Oh, it's amazing.
So I got to design some of my own classes and kind of just decide what I wanted to study, what I wanted to talk about, and how I wanted to go about it. So yeah, that was it.
How did you design your course of study there at Davis?
Well, I mean, I've loved the Sufis, Sufism and Zen and Advaita. So I just kind of I made my own dialogue and experiential workshops and classes that we were able to design spaces for students to come and question and play with different ways of seeing the world. And I mean, it was based in these religious texts and traditions.
Yeah, it looks like space is becoming kind of something like a key,
Yeah,
something that's showing up here
yeah,
in our
sure.
conversation. I see our conversation was just going into a couple of different directions that I think
Mhm.
people are going to be interested in. And one, you mentioned something about since you were a young person. I think people like to hear about people's people's you know youth and so on.
Mm.
And also I was also interested in hearing more about your education, your background, and maybe some of your thoughts on education for young people. So there's two or three different themes
Sure.
we can look at. So in space, so I'm not sure where to go. But where do you want to start with? Maybe when you were like a kid growing up, some of your perceptions, or
Yeah, yeah,
you want to talk about that a little?
yeah. Let's see. Well, when did I? Yeah. What is the relationship with space? I would say I went through um, I guess, a very ordinary American education. Uh, Public schools and private schools, and I went to a Jesuit Catholic school um, for high school.
Hmm.
I would say, but the education of my education to space, in the sense that we're using it, I guess that would start right after college. I actually went to, I mean, right after high school. I I went to college, but I dropped out after one semester, and I moved back home um, with my parents.
Hmm.
And it was kind of one of those dark and very experimental times of questioning, and I didn't have anyone to really talk to about things.
What were you
So
sensing? What were you,
I'm
or
starting to,
continue? Go ahead.
yeah. So they live in the woods, though. They have a house that's right on the edge of a woodland in Maryland, and so I moved back there, and I just I spent a lot of time in the woods during. It was a whole year actually. I ended up spending, but I would just sit and I would watch. I'd go down by the river that was right behind their house and watch the river and wander in the woods. There was about 100 acres, so I'd roam, and I started to get I would say what a an education. uh, and the root of the word to educate means to lead out
Hmm.
to yeah. So to me, it means to free or to lead out. And so I was kind of led out. I was led out of the way that I've been taught to see the world, and I started to experience what I would call myself in a radically different way. And it was kind of interesting because it wasn't humans who were then educating me. I was observing trees. I was observing. I was observing in a space and in a way that I'd never had before. Um, it was the quality of the observation. I mean, just sitting and watching and walking and looking. There was a different quality arose to that. And I think I was saying there were so many animals back in the forest. One in particular was a fox, a red fox. And we used to have these kind of merry games together where I'd follow the fox and the fox would run over the hill and he'd wait for me. I'd get there and then he'd run further and he'd wait. He'd wait there until I walked there and then he would go further. And so I developed this relationship, I guess, with the world back there, and with trees and with the rivers. And in that space, I would say, I began to sense in some way the softness of the fabric of our perception, of this seeing. It was like there was a new space. I started to sense my own awareness, the quality of being aware and the quality of perceiving was changing. And it wasn't, I was no longer feeling like I was looking out at something that was separate. The natural world, the trees and the river, it no longer felt or was seen as separate. It was more like perception and perceiving was fluid. It was itself like a watery river, and it was flowing everywhere freely. And so when I was saying this was education to me, I was being led of the feeling of being confined, the feeling of being an individual person. And so that to me, is what I'm interested here at the Krishnamurti Foundation. That I'm interested in that type of education, not to educate a person to something, but to allow the naked perceiving element, or the raw perceiving that is present in all things, allow that freedom, allow that space, and to see what happens when that's allowed space, and when it's not made to believe or to think or to see the world in a certain way.
Yeah, that's beautiful description.
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of very Krishnamurti too.
Yeah. And it's interesting how I when I was in the woods, I had no knowledge of any of this.
Yeah.
Now going to the Science and Nonduality Conference, I feel it's very beautiful what's happening, because it seems that these voices are emerging, and each voice unique and beautiful in its own way. Like, I have my friend Ashki, who's one of the Sufi teachers who goes there. She presents things in such a beautiful way. And then there's all these other people, and they're all like, it's just like a stream, like voices emerging out of the stream. And so now, Krishnamurti and Walt Whitman, the poet, they all became friends and loves of mine. But when I was in the woods, I knew none of that. I didn't have any context for what I was experiencing, and that's what made it. It made it so intense, and I think really has stayed here. Because
yeah, go ahead.
Because I wasn't finding this in the words or concepts that were being offered. It wasn't something I was drawing out of a knowledge, or I wasn't trained in that. It was just something that was emerging there in the woods.
Sounds like they were the best days of your life.
Oh, this day is the best day of my life. Yeah, but it's interesting talking, because it feels. Yeah, there's this old story in the Upanishads, and I forget the character. I think it was like Nisiketas or someone, and he goes on this somewhat of a journey. I mean, he's trying to learn about the self, and so he's talking to a sage, and the sage keeps on telling him to go with the animals and to go into the woods and to just be there. And whenever he comes back from around a fire or by a stream, he always says, what I learned from beings that were not human. I learned from beings that were other than men. I think that's how he says it. So there's some. I always resonated with that because there's something so fluid in everywhere, but in that wood and in the rivers that was not human, and it is human, but it wasn't something to be taught or learned in the schoolhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love hearing all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's an easy way to do an interview, and there's a hard way, and depending on the easy way. I mean, you have a great website, everythingislooking.com. I think an easy way to do an interview is to go through all the themes and topics, and then to boom, 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 ask your questions one after another. But we might get into some of that. But I think the less popular way is to just sort of be out there in the woods with you.
Yeah. Or just be here in a way that, in an interview, I felt like there's lots of content. I mean, there are lots of things we could talk about. But,
well, how do you feel about all those things?
All those things. Well, it just seems like there's already such a sweetness in just being here without filling the space with content. I mean, without filling it with my ideas, about or my story. I mean, the story is perfect too, so I don't feel a resistance to any story, but I can sense. I mean, just a sweetness of just being here with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we got to say something, but maybe we don't. I don't know. Do you find like, do you have gatherings or get-togethers, or just people coming together, or for whatever, maybe just the purpose of coming together? I don't know, but do you do that, or?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's.
I guess I want to use the word satsang, some version of that.
Yeah, I've never really. I've never done a proper satsang or whatever. I don't know what that means actually. I mean, I know I have friends who do things like that, but yeah, the Friends, the Quakers, they have a great name, just the meeting house. Here we are meeting.
The Quaker meetings. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, the Quaker meetings. Yeah, it was a place where a certain friendship of meeting what is. A place where the people come together just to meet what is. I don't know if that's actually how the Quakers understood it. But yeah, so to answer your question, I actually am trying to set up many different gatherings because I feel that right now in California, it seems to be a magical time, a time where a certain way of seeing the world is dissolving for many apparent people. And there's a coming together in that. And I'm a part of a few different communities, which we are just opening space for for people to come and die. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know. That's an impossible thing to say. I mean,
I think it's, well,
yeah.
talk about death then and the importance of
Well,
paying
what's
attention to death.
yeah, what's interesting about opening a public space or just having a retreat um, is that I think there in our culture there aren't too many spaces where people can die. I mean,
Mm.
can really like uh, die to the content of their consciousness, die to everything they know, everything they believe, everything they think. I mean, the burden of what we have been conditioned to believe and see, a space where that can come into to be challenged and to be looked at and to softly just dissolve. So yeah, this retreat I'm designing in September, it's going to be 2 weeks, and there are many different communities that are going to be involved, but it's a place for people to come and have nothing added, have nothing more, have nowhere further to go.
How many people do you think will sign up for that?
Good question. Maybe I don't know. Like I was saying, in California, this beautiful thing's happening.
Mm.
So now, like, there are lots of people who are very interested um, in alternative, I would call alternative ways of seeing. So I don't know
And
how many people will come, though.
yeah, well, I guess it doesn't matter, but
Doesn't matter.
so that interests me because we run groups here in Nova Scotia. And so how do you envision it? How do you envision the
Hmm.
structure of each day?
Yeah, interesting. Um, yeah, so there are a few different things that we're going to be doing over the year, but I would say the current dialogue that I'm having with a good friend of mine, who we're doing this together, usually in a retreat or in a even in a retreat or a silent retreat or a meditation retreat, all these structures and forms, they're designed, I guess they are designed in some way to allow the human mind to come in, to have some space, to have some calm, some quiet, some relief or something. But this space that we're setting up is radical in the fact that it doesn't offer it's not offering structures. So there'll be times of meeting, of gathering, but there's no necessary content that's going to be that has to be talked about. There's no formal lectures, no discussions. It's the space is open, and what emerges there, then it can be like in this interview. We haven't never spoken. We don't know where we're going. We're not going anywhere, but that space allows whatever conditioned reaction or whatever conditioned thought needs to fill that space. It's a place where what is unconditioned, what is not thought, not feeling, not seeing, not knowing, it's a place for that to be. Yeah. So we're just renting a retreat center or a church, and we're gonna have a gathering there.
Yeah, that's kind of my ideal of a gathering.
Yeah.
So yeah, compare that to the Science and Nonduality Conference, which has its own value,
Sure, yeah.
but different.
But different. Yeah, and I mean I've learned a lot from what's happening there. Um, and seeing how I think, I mean, I feel right at home in that space. But a lot of people feel like it's some type of lecture hall. So I guess trying to allow a space to, just have no imposed structure, and to see what happens. I mean, we did this last year at Far Horizons in the Sierra Nevada, and it worked really. I mean, it worked. I don't know what that means, what was working, but the response was, wow, like, what is this?
I didn't know there were. That's always been my idea to do that. We actually held a conference, not a conference, a retreat like that in Rhode Island in like 2001 or something. And there were about 14 people. We just got together at a Zen monastery there in Rhode Island and just had no plans and just got together. And what we found is that it kind of organizes itself.
Yes. Yeah, because the structure emerges. It doesn't need to be imposed on the space. Whatever structure is present in the people who are there, it'll merge. It'll show itself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that weekend. And so you're going for 2 weeks with this type of
2 weeks. That's the biggest
setup.
one. Yeah, that's going to be the biggest one up at Far Horizons. So it's going to be 2 weeks with nothing that's necessarily needing to happen.
You're not going to really have much structure. Like no one's. What about like leaders or facilitators? How are you working that?
Well, interesting thing about that is it's all being challenged. I mean, I guess the main question there is what really is being taught or being facilitated. To me, non-duality, truly whatever I'm seeing it as in the moment, is no reference point. No thing that is being taught. There is no structure, no idea, no knowledge, no recognition. There's actually no thing that's being, I would say, taught or facilitated. Nothing is not being facilitated. So I think in that insight, the space has a different quality. It's not that there's a teacher who's leading other people to no thing. It's that's kind of like it's there. It's here. It's already.
It sounds instead of like a TED talk, it sounds like a TED silence. Really.
Yeah, actually, that's a nice way to think about it.
Which I love. I mean, I'd like to go there. It's in September.
In September
of this year.
Love to have you. Yeah.
And people can go to your website, everythingislooking.com.
Everythingislooking.com, and you can go on to Far Horizons. That's the retreat center where it's going to be held.
Far Horizons. Now, wait a minute. Let me just break in. This isn't a scheme to like make $1 million and you're sitting back smoking cigars and you have women around you.
I'm having
and you're laughing at me. All right, just tell me. That's my paranoia coming through.
Why you see so many people who are making it? I guess there are people. There's there's 13 and 14-year-olds on YouTube who are saying it's all consciousness.
Are there really? Wow.
This is just something that's sage, and everyone's upset about this. So
is that true?
I think it's true. I mean, I don't know how young they are, but there's a young crowd of people who are saying that.
Well, I know I interviewed Ella McGilvery, and she's 15, but she wasn't coming at it. I mean, she was coming at it in a mature way, really.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it's like a thing, among kids. I really didn't know that. Kind of cool.
Well, I don't know how young the kids are, but
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, though. I mean, if that was actually like that was the new generation was kind of like hyped up on that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's
Yeah.
fascinating. I mean, I don't know. It seems nice.
But it
But
sounds like
no,
a great
no,
guy. It sounds like a great guy. 2 weeks of it. So,
two. Yeah.
what do you? So, what are some of the practicalities? Where do you stay? And like,
Oh well, it's great. We've rented the whole campground. So Far Horizons in its history is the old Theosophical camp.
yeah,
So I don't know if you probably do know something about this whole thing, but so like these the people who are ahead of the Theosophy, which is just the study of all religions and that truth is in all religions, essentially Theosophy.
mm,
So they built this camp. It's a really neat place. It's got cabins and a main hall, a few different main halls, and outdoor space seating areas. It's kind of like a great gathering place. I don't know. I went up there and did the same thing last year, but we just did it for 4 days, and it seemed like the ideal space to have a free form gathering. So everyone will have a place to stay. There's like a long building corridor where there are individual rooms. So you can rent a room. You can either rent a room, a cabin, or you can camp. And last year there were lots of people who camped in places around in the woods. And it's actually in the wilderness kind of, but it's in Sequoia National Park. It's right off the main road, and it's very quiet, and it seems like a really nice place to have a gathering.
yeah. I really want to go. I'm serious. This is the kind of thing I've kind of, thought about and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, all right, I'll look that up.
look it up. Yeah, the name of the retreat on the website is Timeless Spring. So if you want to go, you can. It's like the last one. We're closing down the campground, so it's going to be 2 weeks, and then like I'll probably be cleaning up trash afterward.
It's called Timeless Spring. Okay.
Timeless Spring, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of the retreat on the Far Horizons website. Yeah.
On the far, yeah, and I saw it on your website too that you're having a
Yeah.
retreat. But like I said, I just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a point by point discussion, but wow, I like that whole idea because I mean you can imagine what comes out of something like that. I mean, and again, comparing it to TED Talks, people talk about TED Talks as being a great stimulus for creativity and a great way to spread the word about new ideas and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is a similar type of thing. I mean, it's like a
Hmm.
it's a space where I think anything can happen,
Hmm.
or
Yeah, and
nothing can happen. It's
yeah, and that's kind of what I've realized. When nothing is happening, anything can happen.
yeah,
I mean, you see, it's when we try to make something happen that the space is limited to this something happening. But when there's nothing happening, everything's wide open.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that there's no real leader, or
Mm.
leaders may emerge for a few minutes or whatever. Anyone can be a leader,
Hmm.
uh, momentarily. And that's bound to happen
Yeah.
as it organizes itself.
Well, even I love the idea that I play with this idea that there are people leading, because it's like everyone is that is leading in some way.
Yeah.
So I was thinking even like we could have a space where everybody got up, or everybody could have a chance to get up in front of the whole group and go into or explore whatever they would want.
Hmm.
So in some way there would be like an embrace of it doesn't matter what anyone's saying or what anyone thinks, because
Hmm.
everything's open to being looked at, challenged. Uh, there's nothing that's hidden. There's nothing that's sacred, or there's nothing that's not allowed. So it would kind of give each person a space to voice.
Yeah, no, I totally understand it.
But there's a structure. So I'm not, again, this place has no structure, so that's not, that doesn't need to happen.
Well, I mean, structure is just going to emerge. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, there's a time to eat lunch and people go to lunch. I mean, you're not going to, it's just going to happen. Things will just happen.
sure, sure.
But yeah, I love the whole idea.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can do it. Well, you mentioned that you did do that when you were in college. You said you designed spaces
Yeah.
for questioning.
Yeah, that's all I really want to do. I mean, it seems that it's so natural that people are going to come together and um, explore what they are, who they are, what they are. So any way that can happen it seems easy. And I love that the Science and Nonduality Conference, I think, has opened up such a beautiful space for that.
It is, there's so many, I mean, there are so many people that are considered teachers or they set themselves up as teachers. And there's so many of them there that they kind of all, I mean, they're all unique and stuff, but you don't get the sense that there's one teacher leading the whole mass of people.
Ah, that's it. That's it. I think to me that seems to be the real revolution with what's happening is that nobody is the authority anymore. There's no authority.
Hmm.
The whole community is the authority. I mean, because there's nobody's in possession of the truth.
Yeah, and yet people are allowed, like you said, allowed to get up and speak as though they're authoritative, although they
Yeah,
themselves realize that they're not saying, they're not dishing out the ultimate truth or anything.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Well, that
Because I mean, some people do have a gift to communicate and to speak and
sure,
to teach, and so why not allow those people to emerge?
exactly. Yeah, and I think everybody actually inherently has that. Not just to speak, but um, everybody already knows their own beingness. It's obvious. It's apparent. And so nothing needs to be said or taught. It's not like there's no further to go with teaching more and more and more to anybody. So I think anybody can teach beingness just by getting up in front of a group of people and sitting quietly
Sitting quietly, or how about, jumping around or
or
whatever's
yeah,
natural.
blowing on a trumpet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever is your natural, inclination or yeah. So hosting the right space then allows that,
Mm.
creating it and hosting it,
Hmm.
staying out of people's way. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I love all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look into coming out there. I really
Oh,
not into going. I like the Science and Nonduality Conference. I've been to all of those, but something like you're talking about sounds interesting.
yeah. It'll be just be very relaxed. I mean, I feel like it's also the opportunity just to really just do have nothing to do.
But yeah, but I mean, okay, so you also do writing, and that was on your
Oh yeah,
website.
yeah,
You've got articles. You do music. I think I saw something, a link for music. Just looking at
yeah.
my notes here, and but it sounds like what you're really driven to do is this creation of spaces.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and naturally for me in the creation of the spaces, music and writing and all these things emerge freely out of that, and I'm sure that will happen also up at Far Horizons. But yeah, I don't know, there's something very magical about gathering a group of people and looking at them all. You know, we never look at people. Just like looking in the eyes of a person, or just not needing to fill that time with anything, it brings a certain sweetness. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's everything, really.
it's everything. Yeah.
Um, hmm. Does anyone else do these kind of retreats that you've heard of, that you're aware of?
I don't know if anyone else is doing that. Yeah, no. I mean, I've told a lot of people. I've told a lot of people, and they're like, "You're doing what? You're doing what?"
Hmm.
um, and it's easy. I usually just say we're just doing this.
Yeah, is it hard to explain what it's about, or
Hmm.
I totally get it 'cause it's part of my vision, but
Yeah. Yeah.
do you?
Well, I think finding the appropriate language, um, finding the appropriate language to really meet somebody who has no concept. So I usually don't offer too much language about what's going to be happening. I keep it pretty trim.
Yeah.
And if they feel a resonance with how I'm explaining it in a simple way, then maybe. And maybe they also feel that they can just feel that there'll be some type of open space for them to be. It's not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Are you planning to market it much, or
No, not much.
yeah?
I mean, I don't even know how to go about those things. I'm,
I would love to. If you want publicity, maybe
yeah,
just want to keep it doing what you're doing. But if you wanted to spread the word more, I'd love to do something like that. I mean, just talking about it here, people listening, it's spreading the word. But
yeah, 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 Jerry. I mean, I'd love your help any way that you're interested in. I mean, I don't actually know the way to. I don't know the way to actually advertise something very well.
yeah, I just do it through. I would just do it through my own small network, built up
Yeah,
over the years, and just
yeah.
spread the word, and maybe, have a little catchphrase like it's the TED silence or whatever, something
I
like that.
like that. I like the TED silence. I think that's beautiful.
Um, yeah,
Oh, you could do natural TED silence.
yeah. I'll just
Yeah.
make a note there to rip you off there and then take credit for it.
I think TED. I think actually TED. It could use a little of this natural TED silence. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, in some way, it is related to this TED because, but in another way, it's totally there's nothing that's being offered. And I love that actually about TED too. Is it's the sense that it's being explored.
hmm,
Um, but yeah, I usually feel a place with no content. Uh,
yeah, it's, yeah, the whole thing of no content.
no content.
I think it's, yeah, I helped design the first Science and Nonduality Conference.
Mm.
And in all our conversations with it, and kind of, I mean, there was the practical stuff we had to do, but there's also a little daydreaming. And I had that whole idea, let's someday just have a meeting where people just get together, put some
Yeah.
tables out, put some pretzels on the table, and that's it. So this is a vision. This is a real vision, and you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's all we need, Jerry, some pretzels.
You need pretzels. It's all about the pretzels.
We need a big bucket of
These
pretzels.
pretzels are making me thirsty.
Well, we need water too. I think they have a well up there. So
Yeah.
that should be nice. But yeah, I really would love your help, Jerry. Anyway, it'd
All
be
right,
fun.
but
It'd be fun to dream about it.
yeah, but well, you're not just dreaming, but yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to tell me if I'm getting. You just have to, if I'm doing too much or something, then you just have to somehow communicate that to me.
I will. Yeah, I will.
But or I can
I don't
check
know.
with you before I do anything.
Yeah, yeah. However it goes.
So
However it goes.
uh,
It feels great. It feels great.
reserve me a cab, and I want my own cab,
Okay, I'll get you a cabin.
and so you're obviously people have to pay rent on cabins and spaces, camping spaces and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, we have to pay for the cabins, and we have to pay for the space, and we have to pay a small fee to the retreat center itself.
Yeah.
Just because actually there are going to be three cooks who are all good friends now because they
Mhm.
were there last year, so they're sweet and it's good food. I think it's
Oh,
going to be really good food.
meals are
But
included, right?
yeah, meals are included. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so cost should be reasonable. I mean, it's going to cost
Oh, the
something.
cost is going to
So
be really, really nice and reasonable. Well, I think it's like $300 on top of the rental for cabins and food, and I think so. That's probably like for a week. It's coming out to be around $900, $800. But if you camp, it's like $400 or $300, and that includes 3 meals a day, 3 good meals a day.
so that's 800 for a week, 800 or 900, you
800
think,
for
for
a
a
week.
week.
Yeah, 800, 900 for a week, and if you're camping, which a lot of people probably are going to
Yeah.
be camping, um, it's just $300 program fee on top of the renting either campground or a room. And so I think camping's like 40 or $30. I think it's $30 a night.
Hmm.
So it's probably around $400, $500 for camping.
Okay. So um, now you mentioned it's 2 weeks. So can people come for a week if they want then, I guess?
Yeah, so we were thinking about how to structure this, but we're thinking that 1 week allotments would be great. Like last year, we just had it wide open, and I want to do this year too, but I have to find like a way to structure this. But last year, people came. It was 4 or 5. It was 5 days, and people just came. Some for the weekend, some for all 5 days, some for one day, some for an evening. And so it kind of was rolling, and it had its own beauty, its own form. But this year, we were thinking at least people coming for 1 week would kind of give it its own cohesion, even if it has no form. So that was our vision, that people would come for 1 week or both weeks, or yeah, either week.
Hmm.
But we're also open to people coming for a shorter time, a day, 2 days, a weekend.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they're camping, there should be a lot of camping spaces. It might be harder to juggle the bookings of the rooms. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have to juggle all that, but that'll be okay. It
but
won't be.
you'll figure. I'm not going to get involved in that. Don't get me
Yeah,
involved in that. But
yeah, we can juggle that. We can swing that.
it sounds great. Yeah, I mean, our entire interview's been about that. But I think it's worth it because it's what you're. I think what you're doing is it's another important part of this entire movement that you sense is going on, especially there in California.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah, and people are. Yeah, I don't know how or why this interest has arisen. It makes sense on some level, but it's kind of it's spreading.
But why do you think it's arisen? Why? What do you sense anything, or is it important to you to
Yeah,
understand why? Or
I think I just feel that for some reason the human mind, the structures and ideas and content, the knowledge and the way of knowing the world is deeply being challenged day by day. And with the ending of a lot of our old ways of thinking and knowing, emerges this what it seems to be openness. It emerges this not knowing what's happening. I mean, I sense it emerges a lostness, which in its own way is the essence of this work, total lostness.
the lostness.
Yeah, lostness, not in the sense of like being not like being lost, like oh he's lost, but like uh, just really fundamentally not knowing, really fundamentally unknowing everything that's been known. And lostness, maybe that word has a tinge of a certain experience, like it has a tinge of a negative tinge, and that's not it at all. It's
No, I think I like it. It's like people talk about wandering but not being lost.
yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
yeah, yeah. That's what it is.
It's not like being lost where, I got to get a policeman, I'm lost. It's not that kind of lost.
Well, what's interesting is that I think in our cultural context, being lost is like the end. It's like the worst thing you could be. Or in a lot of the ways people think. If you're lost, like you're not ambitious, you're not moving forward. But I think this work, the work of it's not. I couldn't even call it work, but it seems to be these spaces emerge, and space in the human mind emerges out of not knowing what the hell this is. Not really like, what is this? What?
Mm.
It blows out all the concepts, ways of thinking.
There was recently a conference there in Northern California. I think it was Northern California. Yeah, I think around Silicon Valley, and they're called Wisdom 2.0. And have you heard about that?
I've heard of it, yeah. I didn't attend.
And it's more about mindfulness and meditation, I guess, being practiced in major corporations. So they had speakers from Google and all those companies. But I think it's a mindfulness that's applied to I don't know, maybe doing your work better. That type of thing is there's more of a purposeful,
Yeah.
as opposed to a lostness, the quality of lostness. I don't think you can be working in a major position in a major corporation and be promoting lostness.
I love that, Jerry. I love it. Yeah, no, you can't. I mean, well, you could, but I mean, usually this sense of utter lostness, it doesn't. Any mind that is like really fundamentally working to survive and threatened and it feels deeply the sense of separation, isolation. I think that's in its own way, that's its own lostness, But it's like, but as that collapses, and that's what's happening, it seems like, as that mind, that knowing mind is collapsing, this other sense of lostness emerges. lost
Yeah.
and I guess it's like a resting, resting in not knowing. In
Yeah.
and it's right here.
Yeah, we're lost. We're
We're totally lost. I
it's
don't
better
even
to be
know.
lost, you know.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great. I know you do a lot of other things, but I totally keyed in on that
Mm.
that thing there.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do after your internship? Uh, that's it ends in
Um,
April, does it?
well,
That's
cool
soon.
thing. Yeah, some cool things are happening actually. I'm well, a lot of things are happening between now and what I'm about to tell you, but in mind. But ultimately, what I'm doing after this is I'm moving to Northern California, and I'm working with my friend Kent. He has a piece of land up there, and we're actually going to do the same experiment, but I'm just going to be living on this piece of land, and we're going to build some form of community out of this lostness.
Ah,
um, it's our idea. My friend Kent, he works with the East Bay Open Circle, if you know them.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm aware of him. Yeah.
yeah, so he's involved in that community, and him and I are friends, and he's been wanting to start like a retreat center type space in the mountains, and he has this piece of land. So I just told him I'd go up and join him, and we'd see what happens. Just gonna go live there and maybe build some structures and start again creating space. This is what I'm doing. Wow, it seems to be a theme, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. You'll get people there, and yeah, it'll develop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's really nothing there at the moment.
Mm. What kind of population is in that area within I don't know a few miles or whatever?
Very small, very. It's by this little town called Murphy's, which is like a few thousand people. So it's going to be a very well, I wouldn't say isolated, but it's kind of somewhat remote. But I mean, the whole thing is I just want to do the same thing here at the Krishnamurti Foundation. I've loved this space, and again, I told you there's great space here, but I want to start a space that has no authority. And it seems like um, every space that's kind of dedicated to somebody and their work, um, it easily becomes like that's the authority, like uh, that's the truth. So I have this vision that the possibility could be for an actual space of learning or of education, which is not educating the person in anything.
Mm.
It's actually not conditioning the space in any way.
Hmm. How much? All right, so let's say Adyashanti wants to speak there for free. Would you let him in? You know,
Would we let him? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. Would Adi Ashanti want to speak there for free? Um,
probably because you're not allowing any authorities in, and you know maybe he wants to.
well, I mean, again, authority seems to arise. I mean, it can arise at any moment. It's not like It's not like there's actually an Adyashanti who's an authority. There's no Adyashanti who's an authority. I mean, it seems authority, like the structure of it, is just knowings, like believing that I'm over here and I know something, and you're over there, and you don't know, and so I'm going to, the thing that I know, I'm going to show you, you're going to learn from me. I mean, it just seems to be somehow in the human psyche, this like, this knowing arises spontaneously.
Yeah.
So I don't know about Adyashanti. I mean, what?
Well, I think what I'm saying is that it's not going to, it sounds like it's not going to be a center that's going to have, what did you mention, the East Bay Center, where they have teachers come?
East Bay Open Circle, yeah.
Don't they have like teachers who come through?
Oh, but they have all sorts of things. I mean, they have artists and like, I don't know, they've got musicians and psychotherapists. I mean, again, it's just the community of people that are exploring.
But I'm getting the sense that your vision is not so much to be dependent on, these psychotherapists, these teachers, these musicians.
Yeah, my vision is that the space needs no dependency at all.
But that will arise. That might arise. Someone might play, some music. Well, someone might talk about this or that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the beauty is that that will arise, but it doesn't. There's no space there's nothing that's enriching that in the space. There's nothing that's sustaining that energy.
You're not planning to book anyone, are you? Or
no, I'm not planning to book anyone.
All right. How about booking some strippers? Is there any chance? I don't know. We're getting crazy now.
Maybe
I'll delete that.
Some fox hunters, or something.
All right, yeah.
No, we don't want to kill the foxes.
No, I don't know.
We've got to keep the strippers in there.
But I think no. I mean,
it's great to talk about Adyashanti and strippers in the same.
This is why these interviews are great,
Yeah, totally. Anything goes.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I mean, there is that whole tantric. I don't know.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Sexual thing going on. So.
Yeah, my friend and I mean, it's so funny because he envisions this space to have like Burning Man people, and then to have like, I don't know, like, well, it could be anyone, like some teacher, and then the Burning Man crowd, and then to have artists and like performers down in one space. He envisions all of this somehow colliding in like some interesting way.
Yeah, that I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know who's going to be drawn to it, but my sense is that people who will be drawn will be people who value this lostness.
Yeah.
The sense of lostness. They value that. They're not so much valuing specific ways of expressing themselves like they do at Burning Man. Right. It's all about your own specific expression, like big time expression of artistic expression. It seems like in your space, it's more about being than some wild expression of your creative nature.
Right. Yeah, it's really just about being. But I guess that, I mean, for me, being includes all, so doesn't.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, the space has room for everything. The space doesn't disallow anything.
Exactly.
Anyway, we've been talking a long time, but what else? I have some notes here. Something I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Center for Non-Dual Awareness, and you mentioned like a Non-Duality Institute and things like this. And like, what are those? Yeah. What are those? I've heard of those. I just can't think who's behind.
The Center for Non-Dual Awareness is I would call it a collective of, well, again, all types of people that are in one way or another experimenting with non-duality. I don't even know what you would call experimenting with non-duality, but or how that really, I guess actually all the people are opening up spaces. Like the Center for Nondual Awareness is going to have some retreat in April. So they're opening up their own space in Berkeley, and it's kind of, I mean, there's going to be speakers and different things happening, but it also has a very free form kind of flow to it. It's going to be open to the public.
You know what I'm just thinking is that if this kind of space with no, not booking anyone, if that vision spreads, like really what will teachers do? Because teachers depend on being invited and, they make a living doing this stuff, being the center of attention.
Yeah.
But if that's no longer needed, I wonder if there'll be some kind of backlash from teachers, or I wonder what's going to play out as a result of that.
Well, I mean, it seems like wherever there is, I don't know, wherever there is people looking at things, there's going to be some type of, I wouldn't even call it teacher, but like there's going to be somebody speaking about something. That seems to just naturally happen. I don't know. I can't really envision these places canceling out teachers, even though I think these two things have to maybe come together. Like this type of free form, open space that challenges all authority, that challenges all knowing. I think that's to me that's what non-duality is. It allows no reference point. Whether it's somebody, any reference point in language, any like bit of something that's held on to, it tears that off, it shreds that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this type of space is the most challenging thing for any teacher, because in order for there to even be such a thing as a teacher, there has to be some assumed authority structure. But I also think that can break down, even while there is an apparent teaching, that whatever's teaching, the very teacher can partake also in the seeing that there is nothing to teach. There is nothing, no thing that I have, no thing that is even being seen.
Yeah. I don't know if that gets tricky or what, but yeah, it would be great if some of the teachers came to these spaces too and just were just there.
Yeah, we'll see, we'll see.
And there will be some, I don't know if there'll be any of the big names, but there definitely will be some.
Yeah, there'll be some people who are doing that. I mean, it's so funny that existence is just playing being a teacher. It's like existence is playing being a frog in the pond.
It is. I think that, the good teachers, this is their natural inclination. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They're communicators.
Yeah.
But like we've been indicating, anyone could do that, even if it's for a few minutes or a few seconds.
Yeah, anybody can indicate the true nature of reality at any moment. Everyone actually is indicating it,
Yeah.
It requires no teacher. I think that's kind of like one of the revolutions in my thinking was that seeing, believing or seeing that there was some entity, like years ago I wanted to be a poet, right?
Hmm.
And so I loved Walt Whitman, and I really believed that there was this person named Walt Whitman who lived and who wrote this poetry and he did these great things. I believed in this whole story, that there was this fixed entity and he was a great person, a great communicator. But over the years, that whole story, that there are even separate, uh, located, fixed individuals, that's all been uprooted. It's been challenged. I can't find, even in myself, a center in which I can say I am.
Hmm.
So I can't find it in, a teacher either. I can't. So then I can't even say that is something like there's this teacher who's doing this and who's saying this. I can't find what I'm talking about when I start speaking about that.
Hmm. So is it just as true then to say that that you wrote the poems? I mean, is
Yes,
that
yeah,
obvious then?
that's obvious. Yeah, yeah. There's one moment when that like really dawned on me. Like I was reading the words, and I was like, these words have no past. They are only happening in this like blooming perception right at this moment. And they have no fixed like they were not written by someone. They're being spoken and written right now they're just happening right now. Yeah, they're written written by what I am.
Yeah. Hmm. We were talking about talking to my brother when my father passed away a few years ago, and at the end he said my father was getting frustrated because he was saying, I can't find myself.
Ah,
His life was starting to go. He would say, I
yeah,
can't find myself. This isn't me.
yes,
And of course, I think for some people that's can be, a painful, difficult time. And yet, in a way, it's kind of like the holy grail of people that are kind of pursuing
yes,
their, true nature.
yes. This isn't me. That's amazing. It's amazing that this isn't me, or I don't feel like myself. That can be seen in this negative. I guess it is a collapse. It's a collapse of all the things that were known to be him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The words are, I can't find me. In another well, you just said it yourself. I can't find me. You
I
know,
can't
and
find
and,
me.
and in the context in which we're speaking, it's like people are like, bowing down to you. But in a context of hospice, you might sedate somebody because they can't handle it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it seems that there has to, hmm, yeah, it's curious because like in this moment, when I say that I can't find me, yeah, it appears that I can't find a location to what is observing. I can't find a center to what is speaking. I can't find I can't find the center of my own looking. So it's curious because it is death. It is death in the way that there's nothing to hold on to. Nothing's holding. And yet this same looking can be very fearful. It can appear that way, I think, to the human mind. It can appear like it's something that's dying. It's something that's dying in the way that it's being destroyed, or there's that sense. But yeah, maybe this is what I was saying earlier about the softness. There seems to be a looking that's just very direct and soft, in which the mind relaxes into no thing.
I was talking to a few people today. Were you talking about dying in the very beginning of the conversation?
I think we mentioned it, yeah.
I think you talked about dying or something. Yeah, you talked about these spaces being places where people can die, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The perfect hospices.
Yeah, die before, who's the famous person that said die before you die?
Yeah.
Or die a million times a day. Those are, I can't think who said those things.
Yeah, and death, it just appears right now, it's not having a reference point, a point. It's pointless. It has no point.
And if a person lives from a center, from a point, then its dissolution, I guess, is difficult to experience. So it's good to do it now when you're young, when it's fun,
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if it's fun or not, but not always fun, I don't think.
No, it's not fun. Yeah, yeah, again, none of these qualities, fun or terrifying, none of the qualities seem to stick to what we're saying. It seems that all of these experiences, the experience, I guess I would wonder, I'd question right now whether there is such a thing as an experience of non-duality. If that is even something we can say is experienced.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah. No experiencer.
No experiencer, yes.
Yeah, some people try to define non-duality, and some people will say there's no such thing as non-duality, and some people stay silent when asked what non-duality is. Do you find you have to explain that word to people ever? Do you use it much in your conversations?
Maybe to my parents.
Yeah, well, if you can do that, if you can explain it to, I don't know anything about your parents, but.
Yeah, I probably have many conversations about non-duality. I don't find it too difficult to explain, except when it comes to like my parents. Then it seems like it might just be the bridge might have been blown out and there's no overpass to no description fits there.
Well, what do you say to them? And what can you?
Well, sometimes I'll just hug my mother,
Yeah.
No, my mother actually, she has her own, she started this spiritual center type thing in Maryland, where I'm from. So she's really interested in what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But it seems like everything that I offer, she's like a Zen master. She just chops it up and questions it. There's nothing left.
Oh, okay.
But then she's still hungry for more at the end of that chopping. She'll she'll still want some other answer as to what it is, which I don't, yeah, I can't really give her except we look at each other.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Are
Uh,
you? I have a note here on music. So, are you a musician?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. One thing I really want to do with this year is I'd love to play music at Sand. That'd be really neat if, because I think that like all the speakers, it could use some music, and it already has some, but it would be fun to play. But yeah, I play with a folk band, and I also play guitar and harmonica and banjo and other things like that.
Yeah. Well, I know Sand has sort of like an open mic at some point, but they might be able to, structure your appearance a little more if you let them
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I think I'll try. I forgot. The last 2 years I've totally forgotten about that open mic thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are experiential rooms too. And also you could probably just set something up outside during lunch and just play and they could
Yeah,
announce it or you'll just be out there.
yeah, that'd be cool.
So there are probably different opportunities and they would love that. I know, you know, the more the better. I know they want a lot of stimulation in that way.
Right. Yeah. So but I play music and I write lots of songs. So that's all. Yeah, on the website, it's up there. The website's cool because I've just realized the potential for putting all these different like music and poetry and the essays and things, and then community events and things that other people are doing and other music from other friends. It can all kind of just be there.
It is, yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah. So yeah, and music and writing. I've written this. I've written this long piece it's called Everything Is Looking, but
You have a couple of books. Yeah, that's the other thing. We didn't even
it's
mention your
just
books.
yeah, it's one, and then I have an
Oh,
album on the website.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I wrote that, and it's kind of just a wild. Uh, it's kind of like a roller coaster of different, different. It's an assortment of different writings. So there's essays and poetry and journal entries and yeah, just different
Cool.
experiences. So it's kind of a collection.
Yeah, I liked your journal. I was reading some of your journal entries.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Are you keeping that up now or
yeah, I am. I'm
yeah?
keeping it all. It's all somehow going. But I write every day. I mean, just walking through the fields in Ojai, and something will just come and just write something down.
So how's your book it looks like it's just for sale on your website.
Yeah, that's the only place where it is.
Okay. So
I
is
mean,
it
it might be on Lulu. It's self-published anyway, so it might be on Lulu.com, but besides those two places, maybe Amazon, but it's nowhere else.
are you offering it as an ebook? Doesn't I didn't see where it's available as an ebook.
No, I'm not doing that,
No.
but I might do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Lulu I know can put together ebooks for you and just maybe like half the price.
Oh, cool.
People like
Yeah.
them. People like them.
Yeah. Yeah, good. I think I'm transitioning towards doing that, but it'll take a while because I'm not very keen on this computer thing.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tool.
It's a tool, yeah.
I mean, the whole non-duality movement as such really just took off as a result of the internet. I mean, how else
I
do you bring people with this interest? How do you bring them together?
It's amazing. It's so cool.
Without it, it couldn't have happened. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
I can't believe it. I mean, that's why I did this website is because I realized that if everybody's looking at the computer, that's funny. Yeah,
yeah,
everything is looking at the computer. So I might as well look at this computer too and put something on there and have it as a community gathering place.
Yeah, before the internet, non-duality, the internet allowed non-duality to play out on a level playing field pretty much. And prior to that, people kind of had to uh, organized around, your powerful teachers,
Yeah, exactly.
your
That's what I mean.
Oshos and
Yeah,
people like that.
that's what I mean by there's no authority. I think somehow the internet, and especially non-duality, has broken that free.
Yeah,
Like,
because people just said, hey, let's just get together and talk about it. We don't need anyone else to tell us. We know like you said earlier, when we know we exist, we know
yes,
our own being. We'll just
our
speak
own
from
being.
there. You don't need
Exactly.
a famous, powerful guru to speak authoritatively. You do.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, everyone can. That's incredible.
And once people saw that and accepted it and tried it,
Yes.
it became, you know, it caught on. And teachers are still, and those powerful ones, those Oshos, they're still very valuable. I still read the books and so on.
Uh-huh.
And teachers, I think, are important,
Yeah.
important conduits for these teachings.
Mm. Yeah, and it seems what's important is just the clarity, as in maybe not actually clarity. It seems funny, but yeah, being,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that's what it comes down to.
yeah,
Then the teachings kind of come out of that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so I'm writing and music and then creating these open spaces. All this is coming together now in a really neat way because everything's accessible. I can play music and I can um, reach and know people that way, and then we can sit and in silence or sit together in whatever way and speak, and then we can do it out whatever else arises. But it seems like yeah, all these things are it's kind of a hub now where my different interests and passions are all in the same place.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, yeah. The space allows it all, which I think we've said already.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yeah, people start seeing that. Maybe there's going to be a shift from pursuing teachers to pursuing the space.
Ah, wow. Never really thought of that.
I don't know how much those spaces are being created. Uh, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been having groups here in Halifax, but people who attend, look for leaders and they look for facilitators and teachers. So a few of us play that role, but we're always open to others, And we often say, does anyone else want to speak? Does anyone else want to, lead a meditation? But people do look for teachers, but then there are, in this shift, then people may be saying, well, it's not necessary to have a leader, a facilitator, or a teacher. So
Yes.
maybe that's what we're looking at. I hope so.
Yeah, surely. Well, space is the teacher.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you allow it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, space itself turns into the living koan.
Yeah, and that allowing just comes, yeah, you allow it by not conditioning it in any way, or by being silent, by not doing anything.
Hmm.
So do they give you what do you do on the weekends there? Do they make you work?
No, they don't. No, there's
Yeah.
no work on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah. We usually we gather and do a little of this.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, and oh, I don't know. It would be fun if you have an interest. Yeah, I'll send you the information about the retreat and things.
Because this has really been what I've been doing myself. I started on the internet with an email forum in '98, and it was just that whole thing. Just come together and start talking.
Yeah.
You can't really hold silence because it's an email forum, but you could just talk about whatever you want, basically.
Yeah. Well, I'd be really interested. Yeah, if you just in your ideas too, and in exploring further
Yeah.
with what you see. Yeah,
Well, yeah. Send me the information and
I'll
let's
send you it.
see what happens with that.
Cool. I'll
So
send you the info. Yeah.
Brendan Smith, website everythingislooking.com, and the retreat. Yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed spending this time with you.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, it was great. So, look, thanks a lot. We'll be in touch. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, great, Jerry. I'll send
Really
you the stuff,
appreciate the
and
conversation.
yeah, me too. And look forward to connecting again.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Okay. You too, Jerry.
See you, Brendan. Bye.